Hey guys, welcome to Creative Audit. I have my first guest of the entire podcast, my father. His name is Cecil Randall Robertson. We call him Randy. We call him Pizza Man Pap.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
Good.
It's good. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
How was your drive over? We still live pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, we do. It was a nice drive. I was listening to a basketball game on the way over.
You do high school.
High school. Yeah.
Yeah, I found myself getting back into that as well. You and I watched the Hershey Bears run.
Yes.
AHL.
Yep.
And then, as strange as I might have thought that was even 5 years ago, not strange, but you know, you're into youth sports, or AHL, like minor league hockey, but there's something fun about it.
No, that's. I think if you go to the game, what was fun for me was a big thing to it was the team they played in the playoffs last year was CV Coachella, and the youngest team in the league, all kids. Hershey Bears. Well, CV was the youngest hockey team in the AHL. Right, they were brand new. Now, picked a bunch of kids together, put them together, and they played well. They gelled together. Hershey Bears, the oldest hockey team in the AHL. A lot of senior players on that team. So it was like the old farts versus the young punks. And they fought tooth and nail throughout that whole playoff. And that, to me, was awesome. And it brought sellout crowds to Hershey Arena. And also to the other arena down, where they at, in California, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it's Palm Springs, Joshua Tree.
Yeah. So it was like the yuppies versus the old farts. So for me, it was pretty awesome. I got behind that.
So that's how. I mean, that is true. Like but that's the perspective that you painted to help you see the battle.
Yeah, and for me, it was just like, Hershey deserved to get in there and win that. So I kind of got, my blood started boiling for the Bears, and it was a great season.
Yeah. We were talking before the show and talking about being in zone, and it's actually pretty what I want to get into in this. I need to get a new table. This is why we do these things, because it shows me
What you need.
Yeah, like this is an awful table to do this at. Being in the flow or being in the zone, artists say being in the flow state, finding your element, just riding a wave. What does that look like in your profession, since you don't day to day pick up paintbrushes? You do paint, but that's not what you go out and profess you do for a living. So what does flow state look like in your...
Probably, I mean, the first thing that I thought about when you said being in the zone, I take my take my blood pressure a lot. And I do it just to kind of let myself know where I'm at for the month. And I try to get myself in a zone, if you will, to take my blood pressure. It's finding your happy place. And that's where you just kind of get there and get to a place that you know you're not going to throw a panic number on the board simply because you're stressed and you're not thinking, and you just strap it on to get going and do a reading. So that's where I test getting myself into the zone, so to speak. I'd like to learn to do that before my mouth starts going every time. That would probably be a good lesson for me.
So what is that? Is that a breath?
A breath. Yeah, it's finding your happy place. And finding my happy place, probably the happiest place I can think about, was the very first time that I ever saw the island of Maui from the air. And the colors are just absolutely vivid. They look like somebody brushed them before the airplane got there.
I know. I was on that plane.
And you look down, and you're just like, greens that you've never seen in your entire life, blues that look like they were made somewhere else and transported to an island. And that's, to me, that's where I try to wrap my head and get into a zone.
How old were you?
The first time I went over there, I don't know, 28 maybe,
Crap.
30, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my zone. That's the happy place, because that's the place that I felt probably the most kind of separated from all of the pressures of life, and all of a sudden you're in a place that just says enjoy. And it was almost like heavenly, spiritual, that's where you were placed. And if I had any thoughts of what heaven might look like, in addition to inlaid gold streets and just, that's the happy place. I would think that it would be something like that. So that's kind of where I go back to get restored and get rested in my mind.
I have a similar thing about colors from Arizona, though. There was a purple that gets reflected up because of all the just red rock. Not sure how the color gets created, but it only exists out there. And the purple line that comes up on the horizon on the sunset is you can't paint it, you can't make it, you can't
Duplicated.
Yeah.
I believe that.
So Hawaii has that with the
Big
greenery. And so how how often do you have to transport yourself to Hawaii in a day to day?
I would like to think that you're working on transporting yourself, if you will, on a daily basis. I'm there, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes you just have to get a hold of yourself and say, you know what, I need to get my feet planted again. And you just got. I force myself into thinking, I gotta get back there and get back to the peace and tranquility of my mind, and then kind of move on from there. Sometimes it lasts a little while, and sometimes it might last until the next intersection and somebody cuts you off, and then you're wishing you were back there again. So it depends on events. How many times I have to get myself back in that box again.
I actually have a hard time doing that, so I'm actually curious how you can paint that picture and then that picture calms you down, because I actually have a hard time painting pictures in my mind sometimes.
I would not. People do creative things. I mean, yes, salesmen are creative and a whole bit. I would have a real difficult time, like in your trade, what you do is, if you're working for somebody else, an agency or anybody in the ad business, or you're trying to design something that's going to bring the general public to a product, and you're not doing it under your banner, you're doing it for someone else, I would find it very difficult to create your own personal creativity for somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
That would be difficult, because those creative juices that come out of you when you're creating, it's like producing a little bit like you're producing a child, right? And then you find out, oh, I'm sorry, that child belongs to me, and they take it away from you, and then that's the end of that. And now they give you something else to get started again to produce. And it's almost like, that was my baby.
Just took my last one. Why would I make you another one?
Yes, exactly. I wouldn't want to go out there and create for somebody else. Or not that. I wouldn't want to create something that belongs to someone else, and they have the ability to take it and either say, this is great, we're going to use this. Or they take what you have painstakingly built and made, and they go, nah, and they trash it. But at the same time, you're prevented from presenting that to the general public because it came under the shell of what you're doing for someone else.
Yeah.
That would be, and that could be something as simple as a bottle cap, and you thought it was a great design. It's the best bottle cap in the entire world, but it doesn't belong to you anymore because you built it under the premise of working for somebody.
You were touching on so many things and aspects. I don't even know which one to start with. And I really mean that.
It would be tough for me to be in that business and give those things that I made up to somebody else to decide whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, so we'll start with that one. I think the artist goes through several deaths
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
in your life. And the first one has to be that buckle up, Buttercup. I just bought your time. So that is mine. And you will work for me and you will push that pencil because you signed away 40 hours a year week from blank to blank. Do work, monkey.
Yeah, it's mine. And it hasn't met the level that I'm expecting from you as yet. So dig in a little harder. It's like murder. It's not just death. It's murder of something that you produced and you've got yourself, your juices are in that. And it's like somebody came in and just stabbed it and said, it's over. It's dead.
So I think that's where it is, might be like splitting hairs, but a creative and an artist are kind of different. So the artist would have a really hard time with creative agency work where you're coming in and you have 4 hours on a flyer and it needs to be out by 5. The creativity in that is the fact that you have to pull it off in 4 hours, not this is going to be my baby. I'm going to create it perfect.
Coddle it.
It's like, they didn't ask for a newborn baby. They asked for, if we're talking about making babies, they asked for a quickie. So quit trying to put on jazz music and light candles. They asked for afternoon delight. Get this thing moving.
You're supposed to have it done standing in front of the refrigerator.
100%. So,
right.
So
it better be good.
Right.
Yeah.
So then the artist, that was the slow death that I died. Well, actually, I realized it very quickly. I walked in the door. I was like, oh. But then you can't leave because what will people think? Oh, he's a job hopping this or
prima donna.
Oh, we just can't handle you, Caleb. Or not just me. There's some people it just does not work. Yeah. I wish it did. I've tried many times, and many people have tried many times. There are some people. It's really hard to find this line, and I'm not going to be able to find it right now. But that do need to face. That do need to push through. That don't need to find that first wave of adversity and it's just not for me. There's a difference, and
the creativeness. I would never look at myself and say, "Wow, he's a very creative person." I'm talking about using things that I know to produce and make something and create. I was good at learning a product and being able to share that and being able to create an atmosphere that people wanted to come back and do business because of things like integrity, honesty. They could and being dependable in a certain commodity. I didn't have to design a forklift truck, right, to get them to understand what I did. But what I designed was a situation where I wanted to be dependable. I wanted to know that every time that they called me that they would get a solution to their problem. Not a massively creative one, but a consistent one that you could do over and over and over again. So there were times that I could do some things that were quite creative in a way that you set up finances and all those kind of things, that everything blended together and it just, you created that whole thing. but the end result is it's just the continuation of a sale, right? So I didn't really create a lot. I would have, it would be pretty difficult for me to have to go out every day and create something to get an interest for somebody to want to buy a product, like designing a design on a shirt or a company logo or like an internet .com for somebody to build their business on. I would have a difficult time doing something like that, being that creative.
Making the product, making the thing.
Making the thing would be I make the thing, give it to me, tell me what it can do, and I'll create opportunities for it, right? So I can hook up and get those opportunities to get that product in front of someone and tell them all the features and benefits and the reasons they just need to open their pocketbooks up and pour money into it. If that's creative, then I'm creative. But for me, creativeness, or creative people, are people that make something out of basically nothing and produce something, a product.
We partner with the other parts of people, or great creative made something, but it's nothing if no one sees it, can't sell it.
You could build something that would save the general Joe Schmo like myself $5,000 a month. But if that sat there and you didn't market it and you didn't get it out there for people to see, that the numbers would start coming in, that you could actually produce this product, make a profit on of it, and then build a big house somewhere in the Hawaiian Islands, then it's a no good. I mean, in your mind, it's the best thing in the world you ever created. Some of the things, like back in my day, they had guys supposedly that built carburetors that would get 70, 80, 90 miles to the gallon. Mm-hmm. And the oil companies bought them up, paid this person just massive royalties for what he had created and what he made.
That didn't happen. What are you talking about?
It may have happened for him, and maybe they gave him $10 million. But in reality, what could he have made himself if he had that product and knew who to market it to, which at the time would have been the world at large? But he needed somebody to step in and present that couldn't be bought out by these oil companies. So it ended up, this guy got bought out for a sum and basically gave all the rights to what he had made up. So profit's money.
Yeah.
And he's probably a very creative individual, and his creativity stopped with money, because otherwise you would have seen him later with a modified version of the same thing. But I think he's probably off in the Hawaiian Islands still spending money that the oil companies are giving him.
Yeah, there's a lot of threads here, and I'm finding I need to get a note. I need to keep something, because I keep wanting to.
Just get a marker and start writing on the table.
That could work. It's epoxy. You really could. We could do that. Because some artists, there could be someone could sit right there and or they could be in the audience, and it's not so much that I want to ridicule. I just want the guest's opinion to be expressed. But in some of that, it's a little bit of a push to where some artists would find paying for a piece of art blasphemy. Like, you don't sell this. This is my pure expression of. This is an offering to God. I'm not selling you this. So for me, I think that level of art exists in me. But there's some things that when it is a full, true, heart-bearing offering, you can put a tag on it. I'm not selling it to you. Nor am I gonna. I'm going all over the place. The agencies I worked at told me to leave my heart at the door, to not bring it inside here, because we're not going to treat it well. So please don't display it, because we're just going to step on it. So none of for full 5-6 years, my work has lacked heart because why would I ever give this to you? You just break it in half.
These people that own the agencies, what do they do with their heart?
They claim that it's in the business, it's out there. Meanwhile, mine's the only one that feels like it's being stepped on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of them will have I think they are not as, for whatever reason, I am unapologetically open, call it oversharing, what have you. I'm not even going to do my best. My baseline is just not to create a story or not express the exact feeling I'm feeling at the moment. That's just where I operate.
But that might be tough to do that
You can't do it in business.
in a business format.
I have found time and time again, as cool as the people may be, as close to your friends as they might have been before you started working with them, as open and jokey and barbecue. You get into a business relationship and they're sharks.
Mm-hmm.
You're the first one under the bus. You're the softest meat.
Yeah.
In a stampede, you're the slowest animal. 100%.
The first one to get past. Yeah.
And you could say, "Oh, it's just bad leadership." I'll go. Someone who comes back on that and says it's just bad leadership. Sure, like I'll go with you. I bet there's a better leader that could have done better. But at the same time, I think for me, if that's who I am, and I'm going to stand on that. Well, I'm not changing. If I'm going to stand on that, then you have to create a life where you can express yourself that way, and own and retain your ownership, retain your seat at the table without selling yourself to someone on a monthly stipend.
I can't bring myself to believe that this creative industry that you're in, right? That the people at the top share the same passion of creativity that you share. And I think at one time maybe they did.
Yeah.
Maybe they did. And then the dollars started becoming the important part. And I think the reason for that is, I'm just speculating here, but if I'm a creative soul and I own a business, that my business is to hire creatives, and I start making money off their creativeness, and I make enough money off their creativeness, I can give my creativeness a little bit of a break.
Sure.
Right? So as long as I've got people, underlings, that are paying the bills, that are paying my bills, and I'm living a lifestyle that I want to live without getting out there and having to create myself, what I'm creating now is I'm trying to figure out how to get that creativeness in dollars and cents coming in and sorted into different places that I need for myself, right? So I've lost that desire to be a creative person, and I've dumped that on my employees to give me that. And at some point, I think you're going to lose that desire, and it's all about the money at that point.
The motives of these people has escaped me. 2 years ago, at the agency I worked at do you know about what happened about 6 days into that job? So a month before this time I want to get to, signed the papers to be employed there. And on this show, so part of this show, to bring you in, Randy, I won't speak in, I will speak in exact numbers. If I'm going to say something, I'm going to say what it was, what it cost, because I would have loved that getting started in business, instead of people saying, oh, a lot or a little, or oh yeah, he makes good money. Like, what does that mean though?
Yeah.
Okay. So the job, it was for $80,000 a year plus like a phone stipend and pretty crummy healthcare. And $80,000 pre-tax means that still not enough to feed your family when you're the only one working, or you want to be the only one working. Take homes like in the mid 60s of that, which is bare bones enough to exist with the debt we have and to keep the family moving as a sole income. It's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
I used to think 80. Oh, you got two people 80. That's one six. That's enough. It's not.
No.
It is not. Okay, so not the story. The point is that I signed this paper that said when my start date was, which was January 3rd, and this was the dollar amount, and we all signed the paper. Okay, we have Christmas, we have New Year's, and then Kelsey's C-section gets scheduled for my start date, January 3rd. So I message, okay, outside of this contract, in emails is this, hey guys, my wife is pregnant. This baby could come anytime in January. Because Praise could have been born up to January, like, 15th at that point. Like, that was her due date.
Yeah.
So, hey, sometime between when I start and the end of the month, I'm having this baby. We all know that, right? Yeah, yeah, okay. So, C-section gets scheduled for the 3rd. I call my direct at the company. Hey, it's cool, man. He says, take the week. We'll see you on the 7th or whatever that would be. Show up on the 7th, and no one has a clue why I'm there. Not a person except my contact, like, even greets me, smiles at me, understands what I'm doing in the building. It is the strangest feeling I've ever felt.
Good gosh.
Air in the room. It's like in my... To tangent again, God has used the places and the spaces I've walked to direct to current path that I'm on. But to look backwards, the air in that room said, don't come back. Like, don't come in here. Like, it was...
Like we were doing earlier.
Turn
Get out.
Turn back. Immediately, like... But my head was so wrapped up in, I don't know how to provide for my family. This is the only opportunity on the table. I have to say yes, even if it takes... Basically, I was like, I believed people's comments that I needed to get over myself and just go work at these places because I'm a fool for trying to seek fulfillment or love what I do. That's baby talk. We don't do that. You man up and you do crap you don't. So I was like, okay, people that tell me this, I'll go get this job and I will hate every second of it. I will do it as long as I can and hate my life every day because it's what that's how you live your life. I'll go
live your life, taking one for the team. Yeah.
That is, it's like, okay, go see what that's like. Anyways, the first couple of days are very strange, very weird. We get to a Friday and I'm going out the door. It's 5:00. And my favorite, this is the sarcasm. My favorite phrase that a boss can tell you is, "Hey, Caleb, you got a minute to chat? Come in here for a sec. Just want to talk to you a little. Just want to chat."
Yeah.
Tap you on. Hey, Randy, got a sec?
Yeah. I've had those.
There's 4 people in the room, and the lady that hired me, my contact, my direct, my boss, and a lady hired me. She does HR. She has a couple things there. She verbally bends me over and so starts ripping me up and down about how I shouldn't. My start date was for February 1st. We discussed this way back when. We all knew this. We all signed this. I'm like, I have a paper that says January 3rd. Do you want to give me a sec? I'll go find it. And I don't need to see the email. Just starts digging into me and saying all kinds of things. Before I worked for this company as an employee, I was a contractor, and they still owed me $2,000 on a contract. And she's like, "You're double dipping in our business. Our business is this, and we don't even. I didn't even know this was going on, Caleb. But you were trying to collect on being an employee and trying to get paid as a contract. You are just scum of the things that she was saying about me over nothing and over Like, what the crap did I just
Yeah.
walk in here and do? I talked to that guy over there, the guy that's not talking right now, has his tail between his legs. I talked to him. He told me to come in here on this day. And not only that, my paper, this is what my paper says. It says to come in here. And this, so I didn't get paid for the first 2 weeks because that conversation, I basically, again, I felt so compelled to make this work and to go home to my wife and say, money is coming, dear. Your husband's not going back to Lowe's Home Improvement Center. So to calm everybody down, I was like, listen, that's what that paper says. But if this is such a big deal to y'all that I am, dock me 2 weeks of pay. Like, we'll pretend I won't work next week. The week of that PTO, because since the first work week I was off with the baby, I will take that week as not being paid. I won't come in next week. It'll be 2 weeks where I didn't work. Don't pay me for them, and we'll go about our ways. I lasted 6 months at that place. If I edit this together, I'm gonna cut that last part out. But I will cue us up for an outro. If you were left with one thing to say to me, creatively on life's journey, in marriage, what would you say? How would you encourage? What would you say? Hey, Caleb, avoid this. Look into this more. And when you're 45, this is probably going to happen to you. Watch out.
That's like a no-brainer for me when it comes to you. I would leave you with something that you've actually left me with, and something that I think trait-wise about you is going to be the key to your success, and that simply is that you put all of your trust and all your faith where it needs to be, and maybe some days you may question that, and maybe some days you have difficulty understanding why things maybe aren't going as well as you would expect them to be, and questioning God and saying, you know what, I'm doing all I can here, Lord. What's going on? How come this is not paying dividends for me? And it's not selfish to ask those kind of questions, but here's the point of all that.
Well, you want to be honest. I think you have to be super honest with what you're talking about. And if that's what you're feeling, you got to get it out. And the judgment of is this selfish or not, I think at that point doesn't matter. It needs to get out of your body. He wants to hear what you're thinking.
I think he does hear that from you. And what I look to you, and I've told you this before, if I had to pick a hero in my life, somebody that I look up to and respect for where they've gone, what they're doing, it would be you. And I see that in myself. I got into the box business, right? So I had walls created, and they enjoyed the fact that they kept you in a box, and you had to conform. You had to do things the way they wanted them done. And every once in a while, they'd put the ball in your hand, and you'd basically kick it, and it would go outside the boundaries of the box that they were in, and it would go outside the box. And those were those big deals that nobody ever expected was going to happen. And when it went outside the box, everybody's just kind of like, woohoo, boy, that's great. And I got accolades and awards and all that kind of crap. And it didn't mean anything because I thought it did at the time. But I really didn't put a whole lot of importance on God directing me to go do some things and Him working with me to go from step to step to step, because the people that own that box knew the path to take to get to the point that you're able to kick these things out and make these big things happen. And they're the ones that directed me. And I had to be a good soldier and go do those things. So where I should have been thinking about my life and saying, where thou want me to go, I'll go. I wasn't, because I really didn't have enough faith in myself. Better yet, I didn't have enough faith that God was going to really reach down there and put things there to guide me. And I lost a lot in the process. I gained a lot. From a monetary standpoint, I gained a lot. From a family perspective and being there for kids' events and all those kind of things, and not only being there, but being aware while I'm there. I lost a lot of that because I was so concentrated all the time. There was this little thing spinning around everything that I did going, but what about Monday? Monday's coming. Monday's coming. You're more Sunday's coming. I was more Monday's coming.
First time I heard that.
Yeah, well, Sunday's coming. It was a book, and I'll never forget this thing. It was about a preacher, and he told a sermon. Lothario, I think it's a guy. No, it was another preacher that did it, but Lot did it at a youth rally one time, and it's called It's Friday, but Sunday's coming, and it's absolutely awesome sermon that this preacher did. You live your life. It's Friday, Sunday's coming. So you're putting a lot of your swagger and your hope for the future is centered on what God has planned for your next step. And you want to make sure that your feet are pointing in the same direction that his are. I spent my time chasing my tail, which means just my footprints are wherever this box shoved me. And I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about and looking for the footprint of God in that process. So that's something that you have and something that you've let direct your career with. And in that respect, I didn't have that courage. I didn't have that level of faith to think that I could have stopped at any point and went, you know what, enough of this. I want to do something that's going to please me, and it's going to be walking in the path that the Lord wants me to walk in. I lost a lot of opportunities, lost a lot of time, lost a lot of momentum, if you will, for my eventual walk with God. I lost a lot of miles. That with you, that directs you, and you say it. I mean, at least hundreds of times that's what you're focused on. You say it in the things that you do, the things you say, the direction you take. You can see it in your relationship with your wife. I'm 73. I don't have those roads to go down anymore. I can't stop now and go, you know what, let's back up. Because there's no backing up. I mean, you can stop and you can go in a different direction, but all of that I wanted to end up with, I can't go back and recreate on this earth, right? So, in that sense, you are the person that I look to and saying, this is the kind of attitude and the kind of a direction I would like to have had in my own life. And I'm just absolutely thrilled that we can have that conversation and just tell you that I love it.
Well, I'm V2 and V3's in sleeping right now.
Yes.
So version 3, you might look at me and say certain things, but again, like I think that's literally the point, is to not envy, but
Pass
have
on.
passion for your sons, your next wave.
Well, and I think that's what all of us have to do, especially dads have to do. We don't talk too much, and we never really have, about, Dad, what was your childhood like? Well, it was certainly, I mean, light years different than what goes on today. I had opportunities for two dads, and neither one of them panned out. So I see that gradually over time, I stepped out and said, I don't want these things that happened to me. I don't want my own kids to have to go through that. I would have liked to have been more advanced in my thinking earlier on, but only had probably a 20-year span to perfect that and be a dad. And you have to look back in your life, and the only thing you can do is look back at what you've learned to this point, and try to take that and try to make something good out of it to go forward. So I'm looking at, well, maybe my boys in their lives, like in your life, the way you treat and love your children going forward, it's going to be probably, if I could loop back around and look back over your shoulder into your life coming up with all your kids, I go, yeah, he's got it. And then maybe in this afterlife that I'm headed for, maybe I can look forward and look back at your son's life and see how he loves his children and go, yep, he's perfecting it. And who knows, on down the line, everybody will have a clear vision of who God is and who they should actually emulate and follow in their life. And maybe during that period of time, this whole thing about the civilization and our love for Jesus might run full circle, and everybody is ready for his coming at that point. So I'm hoping
All things point to redemption.
Yeah. So it's got to. I mean, that's where it all ends up anyway, right?
It's the only destination.
Yeah. So I'm looking to say that, okay, maybe I was a cog in this Robertson end of the family.
This is a good spot to end, because we talked about not wanting to submit to a boss or being in a box in a machine. Yeah. Ultimately, there is that submission of Randy, Caleb, whoever. This is your seat. Yeah. You're talking about from God. It's like, well, I want a different seat. It's like, if there is one spot to submit, if there's one spot to be humbled, it's that one. You accept, I guess my seat doesn't have $1 million sitting underneath it. Or I'm not on Oprah Winfrey's show where she gives free cars to everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, I really would have enjoyed a different seat, Lord. It's like, eventually that spirit needs to be eradicated from your body, but you accept your role, your seat, your place, your position.
Where do you want me? What do you want me to do?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, we got into life a little bit, and the show. This is a good test. Thank you for being on.
Sure, enjoyed it.
All right.
I'll see you soon.